Okay, we're rolling. Hi everyone.
Hello.
Second week into the new year and we're still going at it. We've implemented all of our resolutions and are perfect people and are literally on top of the world. So you bitches better watch out. You have no idea what's coming with Sam and Taylor and all that to say in 2025.
You know,
How are you
Lint
feeling
is
about your
scared.
goals? How are
Lint
you
is scared to see me coming. How about that?
Lent?
Well,
Yeah, that's right. You're not doing New Year's resolutions. You're waiting until Lent.
no, I I have my vision board and honestly, I can't disclose too much, but some things are coming true. I feel like Sheena, it's
Oh,
all happening.
absolutely. And that's something that I'm learning. Keeping things a little closer to your chest is not always a bad thing. I'm a chronic
No.
oversharer, and sometimes when you share too much, like the psychology of it is like it's already been done. I don't know. I fully support that. I don't support you not telling me, but I support you not telling the people who listen to the
Oh,
podcast your
you will
goals.
hear all the tea on our Sunday.
Yay! Yay, yay, yay. Yeah, we were just before we hit record, we're talking about where we're going to go on our Sun date. And if you're a new listener or a reminder, Sam and I, our friendship really blossomed when we started going on Sun dates. That's what we coin it, is we just like choose a new spot, a new venue, a new walk, a new trail, something to do to see each other every Sunday. It's just like our way to just like see each other. No, we have like one time a week where we see each other. So we're going to Community
Yes.
Garden, it sounds like tomorrow in Austin.
Yes.
Sam
Yes,
found
I'm really
it.
excited. And I love that it's like two people have posted it. So we're going to be kind of like newer crowd for
We're
sure.
gonna find the new hot spot in Austin, that's for sure. I did go with two of our friends, Sabrina and Anna, this morning. I just got back. We run South Congress for a while, and if you're not familiar
Wow.
with Austin, South Congress is just like this strip of just like shops, coffee shops, lunch spots, just like a fun place to go on like a Saturday morning. But at Manana Coffee on South Congress,
Love that place.
Mushroom Cowboy, if you're familiar with them, they're hosting these like events. It's like a house DJ and like coffee shop concept. I feel like it's like following the
Oh,
trails of like
fun.
dry January. So yeah, we went,
Oh,
we
yeah.
got two hands brunch. So we had some fun. But I feel like that's gonna be our vibe tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
So
Just
yeah,
hanging out.
just hang out. The
Hanging out.
energy in Austin feels like it's that feeling of like everybody's back from the holidays, everybody's back for New Year's, like dry January, just like very good vibes out in the communities. So like
Yeah,
get out there, everyone. You
I
know
agree.
what, whatever city you're in.
I agree. Honestly, I went out to East last night and I feel like no one was there. I wonder if dry January is like actually getting serious for
Well,
some
the
people.
UT game was on last night, so people were probably
Oh,
out just watching the game. You
oh
know,
yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, I did watch it.
RIP. Yeah, I went out and watched the game. I am not originally a UT fan. I just like watch the games because I live here. But I feel like because of that, I haven't been watching the games this year. I feel like I was the bad luck charm. Like because I went and watched the game, I'm like, did they lose? I'm kind of superstitious like that.
Oh
So
no. Well, I mean, I had a lot
sorry.
of I grew up a Longhorn, so I know a lot of UT
Yeah.
fans, and I had people texting and making fun of ASU after us losing. And so
Oh yeah.
I didn't respond to anybody's text, but then I waited until the last minute of the fourth quarter and I
Mm.
responded to everyone and all I said was, I'm not going to be responding to this text, okay? Question mark. And I never got a response from like three people. So, love you so
they're
much.
they're probably like, this is too soon. Like, how dare you?
I mean,
Funny.
hey, I love my doubles. You can't come after my
Of
doubles.
course, of course.
Sorry.
They had a great run too. And if I keep looking down for our YouTube listeners and watchers, thank you. Watch us on YouTube because we do put videos up there. I'm letting Penelope run free while we're recording, and so I'm just gonna keep checking on her. Because tomorrow is her first birthday. She's
Oh,
literally have a 1-year-old almost. Isn't that crazy?
motherhood's changed you.
Oh my God, motherhood is literally, I'm not the same person. She's gonna be a
I'm
year.
surprised you didn't put on a birthday party, to be honest.
Okay, and I talked about that with Anna and Sabrina. I wanted to. I do leave for like a full week on Monday. And so that was part of it, but I was like, "Oh, I could plan something last minute." But She has had TMI. She's had some crazy diarrhea the last 3 days. I took her to the vet yesterday. She's fine. She's just like a puppy and has diarrhea sometimes. But I'm like, I feel like I can't treat her to like a pup cup or like anything like that.
Yeah.
So we landed on I'm just gonna go take her to PetSmart tomorrow, and she's
Okay.
gonna like have a heyday and pick out a new toy. Like that's what we're gonna have
Love
to
it.
do. But I have to do laundry. I have to pack tomorrow. I feel terrible. I really
No,
do. But like,
just
whatever.
sing happy birthday to her.
Okay,
And she'll
yeah,
love that. She'll be obsessed.
she
Well,
will.
Taylor, what podcasts do we have going on this week?
Hey, I'll give you my run of show and then I want to hear yours. I am doing Chloe in Wonderland, The Lord and the Lady, Khloe Kardashian's first podcast episode. And then I'm gonna do a TINX one. It's me TINX office hours with Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins has been on so many podcasts this week, and I've listened to quite literally all of them, but I really loved her and TINX's conversation. Just like the two women who have so many different like theories and self-help things out there. It was a powerhouse. It was just a really good episode. So, yeah, what about yours?
I did this past weekend with Theo Vaughn,
Mm.
episode 553 with Grace O'Malley.
I'm so glad. Oh my God. I remember when that came out, I was like one of us has to cover it, but then I kind of like forgot. So,
It was
yay.
on Tuesday, I believe. So like, yeah, I had to
Yeah.
go. I follow Theo Vaughn, so it came up on my feed. But
Yep.
yeah, I was the same idea. I was like, I have to cover this, and then I forgot
Yes.
about it. But then I went back in. But
Yay.
the second one, it will just kind of be like a preview of it because you haven't watched the show yet. But the
Yeah.
Severance podcast with Ben Stiller and Adam Scott,
Yeah.
they released like 4 episodes already. So I just covered season 1, episode 1, Good News
Cool.
About Hell with Dan Erickson and Jackie Kahn. So those are my
People,
two.
yeah. Okay, amazing. People love the show Severance. You
I
keep
love it so
talking me
much.
into it. I'm one step closer to it because Kylie last night also asked me if I watched Severance, and I was like, "You'll have to listen to this week's pod episode because I have a feeling Sam is going to be covering it."
I had to.
And so yeah, I know. Okay, well, would you like to maybe, or who wants to go?
I'll lead with that one because I'm not going to
Yeah,
cover it too much
it'll be quick.
because
Okay.
it's for definitely for viewers of the show, but I feel like it's podcast news because I haven't heard of a show do this. So basically, I didn't know Ben Stiller was a director for 6 of the episodes. I just remember like when they said they were doing the pod with him, I was like, why? He's not on the show. So I looked it up. Ben Stiller was the director for 6 episodes, and Adam Scott is obviously one of the main characters. And the first episode, they had their writer on, or 2 writers on, and they actually talked about like the first script that they ever wrote for the show and
Ooh.
how it like evolved into what the actual premise of the show is. Um, they are going to be rewatching each episode of Severance before the second season premieres. And they're going to be
Mm.
like dropping like lore behind the scenes, answering questions. And they did say there are going to be spoilers. So I'm not going to really cover like the actual first episode.
Totally.
But what I think is really cool is they have a concept you can call in. And leave a voicemail and you can ask your questions and theories about the show. They actually want to hear what your theories are. Such a cool concept.
Concept. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. And I also think like I saw an article that said that like they kind of get frustrated when people spread like a wrong theory because then
Yeah.
it gets people on the wrong track of like what the show is actually about. And so they were saying it's like great that they're going to be able to talk through the show with people. And so yeah, they're going to release an episode every day until January 16th. And then after that, they'll just be doing new episodes talking about the previous episode released that week. So
Yeah.
that was podcast news that I wanted to cover. They have an Instagram account. We talked about it on our TikTok page and on our Instagram. So if you love Severance, highly recommend looking into it. It's just a good thing to listen to. And I think like any show that I watch, like Gossip Girl, how fun. I know that the guy that plays Dan Humphrey, what was his name? Oh my gosh, I forgot it. The guy from You. Penn Badgley. I know
That's his
he
name. I literally had no
exactly.
idea what his real name was. Okay.
I know that he like has had
Like recap podcasts.
recap like kind of like
Yeah.
he's kind of talked about it, but I think it's really cool that they're doing it during the season.
Yeah.
So you're
That
actually caught up and
is.
you get to ask
Yes.
questions. Like I think that's great. So highly
Why
recommend.
don't more shows do that? I have heard of this concept before only for one other well, no, two. Um oh my god, the famous HBO show, the one about like the fungus apocalypse.
Oh, The Walking Dead. Is that
No, no, just like it. Oh my god.
This Is Us? I don't know. Those are the only
With
two HBO shows I know.
Pedro Pascal. Oh my god, let me find The Last of Us. Duh.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
The Last of Us? Yeah,
I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it.
so good, but it is almost a wee bit too scary for me. And so some of the episodes, like I'd like be like, I want to watch, I want to know what's going on, but they had a recap podcast, so I would literally listen to the podcast instead of watching it because it was like a little too scary, but it was still so good.
Oh, that's such a good
Um,
idea.
yes, HBO actually does this with like a decent amount of shows,
Okay.
but like not enough. Like I feel like not many people know about it. So
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
amazing, love it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I
Cool.
just wanted a quick recap for the Severance fans, especially because
Lip
the new season's
plug.
coming up.
Totally. Okay.
Okay. Our next podcast, what is our vibe? Are yours kind of like, what are your vibes for your two pods? Are they
My vibe is
uplifting?
like very uppity pop culture, and then with TINX,
Okay.
it's like just some like really good like girly pop advice about friendships and
Okay.
relationships. I feel like I want to go to the Chloe one. It's like a
Okay.
fun, upbeat, yeah.
Okay.
So okay, Chloe in Wonderland, Chloe Kardashian's podcast that launched with Dear Media, which like obsessed and love. They're doing this thing where it launches first on X and then it'll launch on like anywhere you can listen to podcasts the next day. So I've never heard of that. That's a very interesting partnership Dear Media has with X. But
Okay.
anyways, it was with Scott Disick. And I mean, we all know the rumors, we all know the theories, and like people wanting Scott and Chloe to get together, and they talked about it. So, the podcast kind of first, basically, she's gonna have guests on, whatever. Are you a Keeping Up with Kardashians fan? Have you
I
watched?
love the Kardashians, but I don't watch the show. I'm
You've
more
never
of,
watched the show.
no, I'm more of listening to the stuff in the news.
Yeah, okay. So the show is like one of the OG, one of my favorite reality TV shows. I mean, back in the day, you can't construct reality TV like that. You can't. Like I don't know. It was just genius. I loved it. And the newer the newer seasons like just not my jam because it was so like manufactured, but I love the Kardashians. They're
Yeah.
absolutely in their flop era, which makes me so happy Chloe has a podcast because I want them to get back and I want more content from them. But Chloe just kind of started with like how she first felt about Scott when him and Courtney started dating. What I love and like kind of need a refresher is like Scott and Courtney were together before the show like ever was a thing. So it was like, he wasn't like a clout chaser. Like I think you can say maybe a lot of the Kardashian family's like significant others. Like he was there before they were anything. And Chloe was like, I always felt about Scott how a lot of people feel is like, I love you, Scott, as a person. You're such a fun guy and such a fun friend. But you're an asshole and I don't like you being like my sister's like boyfriend. And you can chalk that up to like immaturity. To like Scott was just like immature and like a young dumb guy back in the day. But
Yeah.
he's so a part of their family, like
Yeah.
so a part of their family. He's happy now, I think. I don't know. But I know Courtney's happy now, her and Travis. Like love everything about that. But yeah, the main narrative is just like Scott and Chloe being soulmates. They talked about how like they would be annihilated if they were to ever get together. But I just don't think that's true. I seriously like I I don't think that's true. I think they have been through so many struggles and issues in their own different relationships. Like I think you can find I don't know. What do you think? Like people think it's like incestual. People think it's so weird, but like let's get real. Let's talk about it. Like
I just think that they've been in each other's lives for so long. It's so normal to have family members that you call aunt or uncle and they're
Yeah,
not your aunt or uncle. I mean, obviously like Courtney has kids with him and things like that, but like I mean, there's people in every family that are intertwined. And like
I
I don't
know.
think it's weird for Khloe to have a close relationship when Courtney and him were together for 10 years,
Yeah.
right? 10 years, I think. Like
Like at least, yeah, and have 3 kids together. Like, no, you're so right. They're so close, but I think it's like, there's so many people out there that are like they're destined to be soulmates. Like, who cares if you have 3 kids with her sister? Like, just Scott and Khloe get together and be happy. But,
I
it's like
I don't know.
either I don't know. I think it's like their kids are at an age where it would either like screw them up to be like, this is the craziest thing. But let's be so for real. Scott and Khloe getting together would honestly be one of the lesser crazy things that have happened in that family. Like, real talk. Like, you know
Well,
what I mean?
I don't think that they would get together though.
No. But you've heard the
I don't think
theories,
so.
right? About like they're meant to
Justin
be.
Bieber?
Wait, who? What?
Oh, never mind.
No,
I
what
don't
about
know.
Justin Bieber?
You haven't heard the theories?
Well, what about him? What about it?
Like he's been with like
All of
Courtney
them. Yeah,
and
no, I've
Kendall
heard.
and oh
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
I've heard the theories. He's been with
Oh,
literally all of them.
that's
Yeah.
that's what I was kind of like saying is like I mean, I agree. Like if Courtney or if Chloe and Scott were to get together, I don't
Yeah.
think it would be end of the world. But the thing
No.
is I feel like Courtney's in a completely different era now. I don't know
Yeah.
if she would be happy with that.
Yeah,
I know she's
they.
happy, but like I don't think she's that
Yeah,
happy.
I know.
That's
They
not the right
talked
word.
about dating and they were like, we gotta wait until the kids are older. We don't care about dating right now. We just care about like our kids. Um, Scott did talk a little bit about like they talked about the kids. Like Courtney was like, back in the day, like me and my sisters, we were such partiers. Like we would go to Vegas, we would sneak out. And she's like, just thinking about how like they can now see that with all their kids like Storm and Chai and True. Like she's like, imagine when they're teenagers and they go sneaking off to Vegas. Like it's gonna be so funny.
Yeah.
But Scott talked a little bit about like him parenting like Mason and Mason getting like older and like being like, I want to teach Mason to learn from my mistakes. And he talked about like Mason's at a point of liking girls and girls starting to like him. And Scott was like, if you're wanting to like hook up with someone, just be honest. Like, if you just want that out of them, just tell them. If you don't want to date them, tell them. But don't just date someone because you want something out of them, but that's not what you want. And I thought that was a great advice. But Mason is like, the way he said Mason hooking up, I was like, isn't Mason like 12? Like,
How old is
what are
he?
you talking about? How old is Mason Disick? Mason Disick is. Oh, he's 15. Okay. He shouldn't be hooking up with people. He's way older than I thought he was, though.
Okay,
But
Catholic education.
it was just crazy. I know people do that at 15, but holy shit. Like, hooking up was a crazy term to me.
Yeah, I mean, I
All of
feel
that
like
to
it's just
say,
the slang nowadays, though, because people say
yeah,
hooking up and they're just like kissing.
yeah. I don't know. I just was like, we need to like clarify that. That was like a crazy thing for me to
Yeah,
hear. I'm just picturing like
yeah,
young little Mason. Anyways, I'm excited to see what other guests she has on. They've kind of like debuted it with like the sneak peek like of the clips. Like Jay Shetty's gonna be on there. What I really hope is that she's gonna have all of the sisters on the podcast. I think that'd be so fun. I need to hear from Kylie and I need to hear about Timothy Chalamet so freaking desperately and badly. But all that to say, like
yeah.
keeping up with the Kardashians is so like it stands the test of time, just the Kardashians in general. And I have such a sweet spot for Khloe.
Me
And
too.
yeah, I think it's gonna be a podcast I listen to based on the guests, but
Yeah,
I'm happy it's like a way for Khloe to kind of come back and us to see more about Khloe. So
I think
that's that on that, and I'm
my
shipping her and Scott.
my only request is that they are more open because that was kind of my complaint with the Kardashians, not the Kardashians themselves, but the
Yeah,
Hulu show. I
I
feel
know.
like they shelter a lot more, which is
Yeah,
fine. They are older in a different era of their lives, but the drama with Courtney and Kim is just kind of old and
I'm so
repeated.
over that
And
plotline.
It's the only plot line I've noticed. And again, I don't watch the show frequently, but I've seen a few episodes and I feel like every single time I watch an episode, it's always something with them.
It is. I know.
So
I
I'm
couldn't
happy
agree
for
more.
Khloe though.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like
Love
adore
Khloe.
her as like a mom, and she's so funny. Like she really is so freaking funny. So yeah, that was that. Okay, I want to
Love
hear.
it.
We've got another Grace O'Malley. Like we've been talking about the Plan B Bree drama. We've been talking about the Grace and Bree drama. So let's take it home. I thought we were over and said and done with it, but Grace is now on her podcast grind.
Okay, I'm gonna pull out my phone because
Have notes.
I do, and like the problem with a lot of the things going around is that people are not like direct quoting and they're kind of paraphrasing. And I feel like all the news
Mhm.
I've seen, there's a lot of different interpretations out there. So
Way to be a journalist and take
I
notes.
I want to preface that because like I've seen hate on both sides of all of the fences and things. And so I'm like,
Yeah,
this is just what I'm saying, and we're going to interpret it the way that we are. Okay.
totally.
So I do want to say, do not read the comments. I know that we always joke about this. I always go in and read the comments. I have to. Um, Not okay the way that some of these people are talking.
Oh God.
Yes. So if you're a fan of Grace, do not read the comments. Grace kind of outlined, I guess, for the listeners that don't know who Grace O'Malley is, she talks about how she took a break from college and Bree from Barstool told her to move to New York with her. And
Yep.
she's like, why not? I'm on a break. And so then Bree, in Grace's term, said really stuck her neck out to get her a job
Yeah.
at Barstool. And so and that's how she said it. And um they talk about how it was like kind of a jumping around podcast. So I'm going to try and do my best to not jump around too much. But she talks about how, like, we all know where her and Brie are now, and they're
Yep.
in a rough patch. But Grace has said that it's okay that they're in a rough patch because they're both doing their own things. And Theo asked her straight up, do you think that y'all will be like best friends or yada yada? And she was like, we're doing separate things. And she kind of made a separate, like a joke, and she was just like, I feel like a politician because I'm not actually answering your question. And he was like, yeah, basically. But she said, and now we're gonna kind of get into the headliners.
Okay.
This was the direct quote when asked about Barstool. She said she didn't make anything while she was there, and that was in reference to her salary.
Hmm.
And I wanted a direct quote because of all the media that's out there.
Yeah.
She said, yeah, she didn't make anything while she was there. And she was given the option to leave and she took it. And she stated that her new salary was essentially better.
Yeah.
Her previous salary was decent. She noted that her partner, Bree, was making a lot more money than her. And she does acknowledge that Bree had other avenues. So she had BFF's podcast
Yeah.
and her own brand in general. And
Yeah.
so she did acknowledge that she understands why Bree made more money. I think that was kind of a discrepancy that people are talking about. I took that Grace acknowledged that she understands she shouldn't have made as much as Bree.
Yeah.
So,
It's up to
do you
the
have anything to say
interpretation
about
of the.
that?
Yeah, it's so up to the listener. Like I could see myself in a moment in like an interview style podcast where I would have been like, I didn't make jack shit.
Yeah.
She made, and then we all, if you haven't, Dave Portnoy came out with a video, right? That like
I
disclosed exactly what Grace
I am going
made.
to address that.
Address it because that's where my thoughts are. Is like
Yes.
with what Dave said.
So, yeah, I wanted to preface with all of that because Dave, in my idea, my interpretation, all the comments I saw was, where is your HR for Barstool? Because it's crazy. He made a response video.
Oh, well, see, that's like the thing what Barstool's known for. And you have
I
to
know.
sign like a clause when you go to Barstool talking about their HR policies. Like,
It's
it's
just
kosher. The employers know that.
it's
It's
just
like
crazy. So
there is no HR.
he made a response video and her base was $175,000. She made
Yep.
70% of whatever she sold on her social account.
Yep.
And basically that brought it up to $250,000. Now, I don't know what, and I'll ask you in a second, like, I don't know what side of TikTok you're on, but I've gotten both responses. I've gotten, and I'm not saying this is my viewpoint, but I've gotten people saying you're ridiculous and greedy. And I've had other people saying, well, she lives in New York. That doesn't go a long way. So,
I
Taylor,
have so many opinions.
what is your opinion on this?
So I think one thing, I feel like if you want like a really good take on this, the Toast this week talked about this and like really broke it down. They are podcasters, they're independent podcasters. The perk and the benefit of going to Barstool is that no matter what your popularity looks like, no matter what your listenership looks like, you get a salary. Like,
Yes.
influencers and podcasters don't get to say that. Like, that is the benefit of Barstool. Health insurance, like, you are a salaried employee. So I think it's just like all up to interpretation. Like, honestly, is it terrible that I like, my opinion is that like I just don't really fucking care. Like, I don't really care. Like, I don't know why people are so like gung-ho about this. Like, first of all, saying 175K in New York is like not that much. Like, I know some people, we have like a friend, I remember how she told us, she's like, I may make 60K a year and I'm okay living in New York. Like, it's all perspective. That's a whole rabbit hole to go down, but like, who cares?
Yeah.
I think at the time where Grace signed up for Barstool to be essentially like a co-host of Bree's, it was the Plan Bree podcast. It was her brand, her name and likeness, and for her to join, to be making 175K, that's amazing. Like, for her to not have, like, that is an amazing offer. I am like, I think that's amazing. Of course, Brianna was making more. I think, like, when you think about Barstool people, they also go on tour and they don't get paid extra for that. But that's because, like, you're getting paid a salary.
Yeah.
The Toast had another good take about how, like, think about sometimes when there's drama, think about, like, when Brianna and Grace were going through the drama, they were still salaried employees of Barstool, but we're not releasing any episodes. Like, there's hella flexibility when you're a Barstool employee. It's not always the right call and make, but like, there's pros and cons to doing it on your own and pros and cons to doing it on Barstool. Like, I just don't really care that much. Like, they're gone and doing their own thing now, but they were getting paid a hell of a lot better than Call Her Daddy. That is for damn sure.
Yes. So she did say she did want to clear up some things because people were starting rumors that she was offered the position at Unwell before she had quit.
Oh.
This is her stance, is that Alex Cooper, so rewind. Grace had separated from Barstool on Sunday.
Okay.
Alex Cooper called her Monday. She signed Thursday. So she acknowledges it was a quick turnaround, but she has openly said, no, she had nothing to do with the podcast before. I do think, and I would like to say this with utmost respect to everyone involved. As we've said before, broken record, people are human. I don't think that this podcast swayed me to like Grace by any means. I do think I did respect that she talked about her stand-up and she said that she realizes, and this is her words, that she's not there yet and she was handed a lot of opportunities and she's very grateful for them, but she's not at her full potential and she knows it. And I like that she acknowledges that. I think that's great that she can say that.
Not, my God.
Yeah.
Like, she's still so successful and she has, so I could see her being like the next like Nikki Glaser too, you know? Like,
yes.
Oh
So
God. Yeah, she has so much room for like her career is just getting started.
I think that's great. And I don't know. The only thing I would say is that when I was listening to the podcast, I don't think that Grace is my type of humor. I thought she would be, but I found myself kind of fast forwarding through this Theo Von interview.
I hate that you say that. No,
I'm sorry.
That's not true.
I'm sorry, but that's the difference in opinions.
No, that's okay. I think we need to go see a Grace. First of all, we need to go to Whitney Cummings. I've seen her once. She's my favorite comedian ever. And Grace opens up for her.
Yes.
Grace is funny. I think you would like Grace. Give her another shot. Give her another shot, please.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think that I mean, Theo has his own way of holding a podcast, so it could
Yeah,
just be her responses weren't on par with the interview or whatever it is.
totally.
And she does acknowledge it. She's like, I am learning how to do stand up. I am learning how to get better. So
Yeah.
I respect that. I don't think I don't hate her as a person. I'm not a part of this drama, but the podcast, if you want the tea, I would say it's a good podcast. But if you're
Yeah.
going to get her humor, I wouldn't say it's the best podcast to get to know her.
Fair. Fair. Okay.
There you go.
Love it. Okay. Another addition to the Grace and Brie saga continues
I
just
think
when we
it's
think it's
done.
done.
It's got to be done after this. I don't think Brie is going to respond. I don't think Dave is
No.
going to respond again because I
Yeah.
think Grace herself doesn't have a leg to stand on. I don't think that she can say anything to what he said. I think that's a decent salary. And you brought up a good point.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
are a
totally.
salaried employee as a podcaster.
I don't think there's anything left to respond on. I think now is like I am so ready to hear Grace's podcast on Unwell. I just think anything Alex Cooper is going to let allowed into the Unwell brand. Every single Unwell podcast is so good and so successful, and I feel like Grace's is going to be incredible. Like
Oh, yeah.
I'm very excited for it, but I agree with you. There's nothing more that can happen. It's like said and done. I hope there's no more drama. It's like, okay, we now know the extent of it. We got down to the freaking W-2 of knowing what people are getting paid. Now,
Yes.
let's go and do our separate thing. I don't think they will ever be able to be like friends again. I actually don't think so. I think
Yeah.
they can make up in the future the same way Kylie and like Jordan Woods did, but it's going to take years and it's going to take projects and them living a couple different lives before they make their way back to each other. And that's okay.
I feel like we'll see like a red carpet moment 10 years from now. And they
I
take
love
one
that.
together and they're like, oh, you're here. Let's take one. Like, and then that would
Ah.
just be, whatever. I don't know. Grace, like I said, she made the joke. She's a politician, so she's not going to
Yeah.
get too into everything.
Totally.
But
Because I think we still, at the end of the day, have a ton of respect for each other. Like
yes,
they
I
have a
agree.
ton of respect. And no, Sam, you're a psychic. We're gonna like clip that of what you said, and in 10 years from now, like all that to say, podcast predicted it first, people. Okay, I could see
think
it happening.
I think she was respectful to Brie, and I don't think that I think I agree with what you said. I think that you just say stuff on the podcast. I speak a lot before I think. She didn't. I don't think she meant
Totally.
it as like, oh, I didn't get paid anything.
It
I
was
think
an
she was just
interview
like, "Be decent."
style. She probably said it just in the context of comparing it to how much Brie got paid. Like totally. I don't
Yes,
think it was her being like, I didn't get paid jack shit. I think it was her
yes.
just being like, I did not get paid as much as Brie. But it
And
makes sense
she
she
made
didn't
it
get.
seem like Unwell gave her a way better deal too. So I think
I
she was
hope.
kind of comparing it, but she did make the joke that she doesn't have health care anymore.
Yeah.
So
Benefit of being a Barstool employee, you do get healthcare. Funny. Okay, well, good one. Thanks for bringing that one up and taking us through. That was interesting for sure.
yeah.
Okay.
All
Well,
right. What do you got?
Mel Robbins, if you're not, are you familiar with Mel Robbins?
No.
She is like a self-help queen. I think you would love Mel Robbins. She is on basically a big old PR publicist tour right now because of her new book coming out. And TINX hosted her. It was a great forum because TINX every Friday has like a new guest on her podcast. It's called Office Hours. But I just want to break down a couple of things they said because I think they are so topical to one, who I am and some of the things I need to improve upon within myself. So it was great for me. But two,
Okay.
just like no matter what stage or area you're in your life, like truly you can like gain something from like their philosophy. It's not like a typical, I feel like a lot of people go to TINX when they're just like single, but like no, this whole concept is for anybody married, broken up, relationship, 80 years old, like 10 years old, truly. And that is because Mel has two theories. One is the 5 4 3 2 1 theory, and the next one is the let them theory. This tour is really about the let them theory. That's her new book coming out. I just want to first preface, I don't think I'm going to do this justice with my notes because I have so many notes. I think it is a podcast. I would not be upset if anybody stopped listening right now and just went to their podcast to listen to it. But I could save you a little bit of time and let you know what I thought about it. the let them theory. I am a controller for sure. I feel the need to control things, to control people, to control outcomes, narratives, control my future. I have a very difficult time with being in a state of limbo and like living in that limbo state. I've gotten worlds better, but I don't like the limbo feeling. I don't like situationships. I don't like having conflict and not addressing it. I've always been a very confrontational person, and that's because I don't just like let things kind of happen.
Mhm.
And that's what the let them theory is all about. So, I find myself when I have a friend or a colleague who has like an issue, has something significant they need to like improve or change. Whether that's a friend who like has like a boyfriend who I'm like, "Oh my god, break up already."
Mhm.
Or whether it's like a friend who is like, I have this habit that I need to fix. And it's like they talk about it all the time, but they don't fix it.
Uh-huh. I
It's
know what you're
so
talking
hard
about.
not to get into a judgmental state, right? Because it's like
Yes.
when you are fixing things about yourself and like fixing yourself and up leveling yourself, you just wish that for other people and you wish other people would take that into action. So it's so topical for this time of year when some of us have resolutions, but others are like not taking shit serious, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, they just had a lot of good pointers, and that's what the let them theory is. Like the she had a really good point is like think about the hardest working person in a classroom. It isn't the one who is getting an A plus. It isn't the honor roll student. It's the person that's failing who is like working the hardest usually, right? It's the person who is like I am like studying my butt off, but I'm not getting there. It's always that person. And so pushing others ends up pushing them back. And the need for control is like a safety mechanism. Like the more I can control, the more I know the outcome and the safer I'll be. It's like a basic human kind of like instinct is to like want to control things for like, safety. But
Yeah.
yeah, other people's behavior can just like deeply affect people with control issues, which I have. So the whole thing is about reframing it is like not to change others, but like you can't change someone and their outcome, but you can have influence on them. So yeah, the let them theory lets you just like live and operate without controlling them. It's such a waste of time and energy to think someone is going to change because you want them to change. And it ends up just creating more stress for you. So yeah, it doesn't mean like you can't support someone or like cut them off because they're not changing, but like the best thing you can do is just like celebrate the small moves and small wins. So like, an example is like, a girlfriend who has like a boyfriend who you're just like, oh my god, break up already. Like prime example of like Scott Disick and like Kourtney Kardashian, like everybody probably wanted them to break up, but it's like, oh, if Kourtney would come to you and be like, Scott did this one thing and I'm just realizing maybe that's like not the way I want to be treated. You don't need to respond and be like, I've been telling you this, like, yes, break up with him, girl. Just say, like, yeah, that must be like so hard, Kourtney. Like, I'm so proud of you for like coming to that realization. Like, yeah, you're right. You don't deserve to be treated that way. And just like positive reinforce. And
Yeah.
I took just so much away from that. So yeah, again, I don't feel like I'm doing this justice, but like it was just an amazing episode. They didn't focus too much on relationships, but focused a lot on like other things. It was chef's kiss. I can't it's such a simple concept, just like letting them. But yeah, the whole part one is like let them, and then the second part is like let me, and it's about like you have control on how you feel and how you react and what you do with what other people do to you. And it's just like such a simple concept, but
Yeah.
really kind of healing for those of us who have a deep issue with wanting to control outcomes. So yeah, what
Yeah.
do you think? Do you resonate to like wanting to control, or are you more on like do you feel like you get the let them a little bit more?
With friends, I don't know. It really depends on the friend. It depends on the relationship with them sometimes. Sometimes I
Yeah.
feel like I feel empowered to be like, yes, girl, I've already told you this.
Mhm.
But
Totally.
some friends, I do agree. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy you understand that. Like, that's a great realization. Great job. But for me, I'm the same way. I am not diagnosed with OCD, but I do struggle with what I can control and what I can't
Wait,
control.
I never put that together. It
Oh,
probably has
sorry.
so much to do with my OCD.
Sorry.
Uh,
There goes
uh,
my child philosophy degree part.
yeah,
Okay, anyways, um I would say that when I was an athlete, we had to read those books of like mental toughness and things like that. And so I have learned a lot about like you can't control what happens, but you can control how you react and your
yeah,
emotions to that. And I think the older that I get, the more that I've realized in general, people don't remember exactly what happened, but they remember your reaction. And
it's so
so
true.
I hope this like relates to what you're talking about. Does it? Yes.
It
Okay.
absolutely does. It
Okay.
absolutely does.
That's what I
Yes.
take from it is because, I'm gonna relate to like not breakups, but like friend well, I guess friend breakups, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have been in scenarios where I feel like I was labeled the crazy person strictly because my reaction was more
Was bigger than what
was
actually happened.
was
The
bigger than what
scenario.
happened, but I was so
Totally.
hurt that went and did something that, you know, it warranted something that it didn't need to. And
Yeah.
so then people get mad at me because they're like, well, you responded this way. And so then we kind of forget why we were even mad in the first place. And then it turns to me. And then
Yeah.
it turns to the whole self reflection and yada yada. And so I think that's why I'm at the point where I have learned a lot about myself and I've tried to move away from that. And I think I've done a decent job. But my Scorpio tendencies, for sure, I do sometimes react before I get the full process in.
Yep.
But I think that's great. Yeah, I think it's always a good reminder.
Yep.
Especially like the older that I get, the more I've tried to be a lot calmer to these
Yes.
scenarios. I
I
have
know.
tried.
Yeah.
I
I've
mean,
learned
obviously,
it.
sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we all want to be like a work in progress and like have things to improve. Like you know, what is life if you're not like continuously trying to improve yourself, right? But just thinking about where I am now in like, kind of like whether that be some of like the relationships like I have now, it is a wondrous thing looking back on just the way I like handle things now. I'm a work in progress, but I think if you need some really quick hitting practical tips, fabulous podcast to listen to. Really anything Mel Robbins is on. I just, love TINX obviously, and so it was a good one to listen to, but yeah, really good practical tips. And it's all about that of like, let them then let you. Like
Yeah.
you you have the power and control to leave, to essentially like ask yourself, will you ever be able to stop bitching about this one thing your partner does, your friend does? And
Yep.
if not, you can maybe like demote them as a friend. You can choose to move on. You can choose to like accept that about the person. It's all about just like making yourself more at peace at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
I highly recommend. But yeah, also to listeners, I'm so sorry if you heard like sneezing and snorting this whole time. That was my dog if you're not watching on YouTube. She
I
has
didn't
been
hear
right.
anything.
You didn't?
I
Okay.
think we're
She's
good.
been right in the mic this whole time. But yeah, closing thoughts. Anything you have to say?
No, I mean, I think that this month's in general, our podcast episodes have definitely had a theme of like bettering yourself. And so I'm so happy that you chose the last podcast
Yeah.
because it's a
Yeah.
good conversation
I
and
know.
we have a new year. So,
New year, new us. I don't want to do the whole new year, new me thing because like I like myself and I want to keep me going. I just want a more polished version of me, you know?
I love
A
it.
less control freak version of me, that's for dang sure.
You are
uh,
doing so much better. I swear.
Love you. Thank you. Thank you.
I
Well,
swear.
Sam and I have a fun night. We are going to a bring your own martini night. So that may be what we have to recap in next week's episode. Because we've got 5 girlies bringing 5 different kind of martinis. So if you never hear from us again, martini night maybe got the best or worst of us. But yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
Check
That's
out
not a
all of our socials, all of that
good
to
plug.
say podcast, except maybe not TikTok anymore. I'm praying that we keep it, but
If you're not a
Please
religious person,
interact.
please just be one and like send a quick prayer to the big man upstairs. My God, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't. I can't even think about it. But okay, yeah. Love you.
Love
Bye.
you. Bye.